Paige sometimes will text me with something and say, "Hey, I had a thought about Diane."
Like yesterday.
Yeah.
I thought I was the only one that received late night texts from Paige about the play.
Yeah.
About the play.
Yeah, some are inappropriate, but we won't go into that.
No.
It's the pictures.
Jesse, darling.
Yeah.
The lights are on, the curtain's up. This is Steps to the Stage. Hello and welcome to Steps to the Stage, the 7th Street Community Theater podcast where I talk to the community theater professionals you know and love. Today, for our 3 on the Edge special, we are talking about The Birds. We have our director, Chris Diehl, along with some of our actor friends, Aaron, Emma, and Paige. Welcome you all to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great to be here.
Yeah, great to have you. Chris, why don't you start off while talking about sort of The Birds in general for people who somehow don't know what this is.
Yeah, well, there's actually a lot of people that don't know the play because the play is not done very much. At least I don't know of it having been done in this area. I kind of did some online research when I knew we were doing a Hitchcock festival. And so when I came across The Birds, I was like, ooh, that's interesting. How does that go on the stage? Because I had only known the movie. But I'm a Hitchcock fan, so what I see this play as closer to the Hitchcock movie is actually Lifeboat, which is one of his 1940s movies that not a ton of people know, but it's about a ship or during World War II that gets torpedoed by the Germans, and a whole bunch of survivors gather together on a lifeboat, and they're strangers, most of them, and they're from different walks of life. And the whole movie is set on this lifeboat. The entire thing. There's no prologue. There's no tag scene at the end where they're rescued or anything like that. The entire film is set in this lifeboat during World War II, and The Birds is very much like that. This play, it's about strangers who are huddled together in a home in New England while the birds are attacking. And so they have to learn to survive together. And I think one of the interesting things about Lifeboat as well as this play is that we only know the characters in times of extreme distress. So we don't know. We have Diane, we have Nat, we have Julia, who are our 3 main characters. We also have Tierney, who comes in later. But Tierney and Diane and Julia and Nat, these are all these great characters, and we see how they cope and how they get along together in an extreme situation. So we never know what they're really like in their normal life.
Yeah.
We only know what they tell us. And so it's kind of a mystery as far as who these people are that we're following as the show goes on. But then, of course, there's also the birds that comes into it, and so there's this outside threat, that is present throughout the whole play. So we think it's pretty suspenseful. It's a great character study. We've been having a great time talking about these characters together. And and I have 3 just amazing actors who are bringing these characters to life. So I said at one rehearsal, I'm like, we don't even really need the birds because this show is so interesting with just the people, just these characters. But when you add the birds, it just adds, of course, an extra layer of terror and suspense and everything like that. So, and, just like any good story, I think you don't know where it's going to go. So it keeps you, it always keeps you on the edge of your seat and listening and watching and looking at these people and like, who are they really, and what's going to happen with them. And it's just the best kind of theater. I love it.
Yeah. You've already done this a little bit, but would you mind speaking a bit more on sort of what attracted you to the show as a director?
Yeah. For one, I love directing shows that deal with kind of a small cast. And especially after my last show, which was August Osage County, where we had just a huge family, it's nice to deal with like a little group of people, and we can really explore all the kind of the little moments, between everybody and really get really, really almost like an X-ray, into these people, into their relationships. So that's one of the things that I loved about the play. And of course, I also love Hitchcock. So I love trying to maybe bring some homages to the movie, because even though this play is closer to the original Daphne du Maurier story, there's still little things that I'm trying to, for fans of the birds, and there are many, that they will see this play and at least pick a few things out. They're like, oh, they played that song in the movie, and just little touches like that we've added for Hitchcock fans. So that really appealed to me too.
And then I would love to extend that question out to our actors. What drew each of you to this show as a performer?
Well, I'll say real quick that I love the playwright, Conor McPherson. The first play I read by him, Shining City, at least a handful of years ago. Just great characters, funny, heartbreaking, all the stuff I love, right? And The Seafarer, another great one. So I had happened to read this. I happened to read this in a collection of his probably about a year ago. And then, the auditions came up. I thought, I just read that. So I looked at it again, and it really surprised me. I really enjoyed it, my first reading, but I honestly had no idea, which is really true for most well-written scripts anyway. There's so much to uncover that I really had no idea quite what sort of gem that analogy doesn't really work, but what sort of incredible show I was entering into, and I'm just so fortunate. And then also actors that I haven't worked with, and that maybe goes in another direction. But as far as this play goes, it's just like any well-written script. It's just a beautifully layered onion, and again, like Chris was saying. The characters in this, the character studies have been just so fascinating, and I couldn't have wished for a better group to dig into with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, I really love horror and suspense. That's something I fully dive into as a general just lover of horror and that kind of stuff. But to actually get to play a character in suspense is so intriguing, and it's so fascinating. And to have, like Aaron said, to have a group that you can allow to really dive deep, and have a director who can keep you on pace, but let you grow and let you really flesh out a character. And even though there's it's a glimpse into these people's lives, and it's as Chris said, in their extremes. It's so much fun. And I mean, it's so much fun to play comedy, so much fun to play really, really dark drama, but this is suspense drama, which I think is its own precious little gem that a lot of actors, they never realize they want to do it until they're in it. Mm-hmm. And I think that's something that entices me, and I thank Chris for this opportunity, and Paige and Aaron for letting me play. Because this is a lot of fun, and it's a lot of fun to create a character that you don't know how you feel about them. So
Interesting.
And I'd like to just jump in and say that for CCT audiences who have come to see other shows here, they will definitely recognize Emma, and she was just in Noises Off. So this is a very different role for her. She has played mostly comedy that I've seen her in, and I was just like, I want to see her do this part, because I just know she would kill it, and she absolutely does. And so I think audiences who are used to Emma playing in farces and running around half naked in
yes,
in little whatever she's wearing, they're going to really have their eyes opened in this one. Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, I of course agree with everything that's been said, but for me, two things stood out. One was the opportunity to work with Chris again, because he is one of the most phenomenal directors I've ever worked with. He really is an actor's director. For sure. And I think part of it is because he's such a good actor too, but he knows the script inside and out. And wants to really create just as much as the actors do. And that feels wonderful. But one thing I love about this script, this story, is that every one of these characters is a full person. Even though we have this very scary environment and the environment illuminates the character, there is no caricature in this. Every one of the characters is a full person. So they each have their vulnerabilities, they each have their anger issues, they each have their fear. They have all of this, and we've had the opportunity to really bring that to life. And you don't always have that in a story that has more characters in it, that has more stuff going on. I mean, this really is a pretty simple story. There's not a lot. There's no scene changes. But we've got the lighting and the sound, which brings so much. But for the actors, we don't have much else going on except what we're doing with our character and with each other.
And there's not 12 subplots, going on. It's like every scene has really one story that is being told. And that's why I said I think I said at one point, this is almost like a series of short stories rather than a novel, because we get kind of a glimpse, like Emma said, we get these I forget how many scenes there are, 16 or something like that. It's a one-act play, I should mention. It's 90 minutes straight through, so there's no intermission. But yeah, it's like you keep getting these little stories throughout that all add up to something. And sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, Paige, but continue.
And they're all character driven. That's what I love about it. I mean, it is these characters in these particular circumstances, but so much is revealed in these little interactions we have. And as an actor, it's just a phenomenal process to have just a few of us like this, so that every rehearsal we've had the time to go, what do you think about this? Well, what do you think about this? And, I didn't notice that. And once again, to have a director who is as engaged with the script as the actors are and trusts us and allows us to have those conversations, it's an incredibly fulfilling place to be as an actor, right? Where a lot of times we do so much of our work outside of the rehearsal room, which is fine too. We don't have a choice. But we've been able to really, and I feel like in a way it kind of mirrors the story of the play, right? Because once again, the three of us have never worked together before. And so we don't really know each other in that sense. We're discovering as we go, and we've been able to really do that as actors as well as creating the story together. So it's been a really unique and precious experience for me.
Yeah, I mean, that all just sounds incredible. Like, it's just really, really great that you guys have that experience and are able to work together like that, and that Chris is such a wonderful director and is able to provide that for you as well. Yeah,
it is.
Yeah, it really seems to me, and again, a testament to the director and the cast, it really seems to me that often I feel that playwrights sometimes leave open spots for you to collaborate with them.
Yeah.
They're looking for you to kind of come up with some of your own answers. I really kind of feel that with this. Maybe that's why on the first time on the page, I really liked it, but I had yet to fall in love with it because I had yet to answer, those questions upon first reading. Once we start laying those bricks that were missing before, oh my gosh, it's truly a collaboration with the playwright himself, and it's a wonderful thing.
And one of the reasons that I like to work with small casts is because you can really be collaborative. When you have a big cast, it often gets to be too many cooks in the kitchen. There's just too many voices, and you kind of have to say, great, give me your ideas, but ultimately I got to steer this ship. But this, I really felt like there was such a group effort for everyone where we just all got together, and the best idea wins. Whoever says, hey, why don't we do this instead of this? I certainly don't have all the answers. And I love when, even if you think you know the script backwards and forwards, you're always introduced to new ideas Paige sometimes will text me with something and say, "Hey, I had a thought about Diane."
Yesterday.
Yeah.
I thought I was the only one that received late night texts from Paige about the play.
Yeah.
About the play.
Yeah, some are inappropriate, but we won't go into that.
No.
It's the pictures.
Jesse, darling.
Yeah. But everybody's always thinking like nonstop about this play, and so you keep getting little epiphanies, as you go on, and I think all of our opinions have probably changed as from when we started to when we at this point right now we're a little less than a week away from opening, and I'm sure we're still going to have more epiphanies before our opening this Thursday. So
yeah. And again, because this is a play based off of the original novel more than it is based off of the Hitchcock
it was a
movie,
short it was a short story first by Daphne du Maurier. She also wrote Rebecca. That's probably one of her most famous plays. He also did a movie of that. He liked actually Daphne du Maurier. He adapted two more of her stories, but yeah, Hitchcock took elements from which he often did. Actually, he took elements from the story and was like, "I'm going to make this into a Hitchcock movie." So he added his own characters and added his own stories and stuff like that. So, but yeah, there's still a lot that's similar. One of the things being that the birds, we don't have a resolution. You don't really get a resolution to this. It just is like an act of God. And speaking of God, there's a lot of interesting things about. There's so many things that this play touches on. We talk about religion. We talk about children and families, and there's just so much going on. And like Aaron said, some of it we brought ourselves. I think, and the playwright really did give us this ability to kind of, add to it and embellish. And
as Paige said earlier, these are real people. And not only that, they're diverse enough to, I really believe that every audience member can see themselves. And possibly that changes.
Sure. Yeah.
As do the characters change. But I think everyone will be able to sort of place themselves in this situation because they see real people, that they see reflections in themselves, I'm sure.
Yeah, they can definitely connect to at least parts of us or all of us at the same time. And even Tyranny, like, even that glimpse of that character, you guarantee an audience member is going to go, I would do that too. It's all a what if, like this is something that, especially because it was adapted recently, like 2009, I believe, right? And I think you can definitely see yourself in a modern time. If this were to happen now, who knows what would happen? But this is kind of a glimpse to maybe. Well,
that's another thing we decided. This kind of has happened.
Yes.
I know. We all have an experience of being trapped in a house with something terrible outside.
And that's the amazing part of Chris, because literally, I think the first second rehearsal, Chris just said, COVID. And I was like, oh my God. And it's something that I think is going to really because sometimes with Hitchcock, a lot of people are going to be like, oh, it's dated. It's not really. If you think of the main idea of what Hitchcock brings and his movies, it can resonate with anyone. And this one is just going to hit home, I really think, with COVID and everything happening and being trapped. And like, I even had a friend who got trapped with a few strangers because of they couldn't travel and certain things like that. So it's a glimpse into what we've been through and like what could be a resolution. So.
And Hitchcock often does this in his films, where he uses kind of the trappings of a spy story or a horror story or a mystery to tell a deeper story of the human condition. Yeah. And Vertigo is a great example of a movie that has a far-fetched typical mystery plot that you would expect in a thriller, but it goes so much deeper than that. And I feel like this play and the birds, even the birds, the movie, it uses the birds to tell a much deeper story. But you could also appreciate it on that level as well, as just a good kind of scary night out at the theater. So not everybody is going to come out from this play and be pondering the mysteries of life.
world.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not that it doesn't have
You
to
may
be
look
that
at
deep.
birds differently. As we
God.
have.
definitely will.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Just see a crow and go, nothing.
Yeah, and it's and I should say, if you're scared of birds in real life, don't let that keep you from this show, because you're not going to be attacked by birds. We're not going to have any weird things where they're going to come down out of the audience or anything. So yeah.
So as part of the festival and rotating rep, you were sharing this stage with the two shows you previously mentioned. Would you mind talking about that experience?
Yeah, well, it's always interesting because you have to collaborate with two other directors, and you have to kind of fit the needs of everybody, all the shows. So luckily we have Dial for Murder that we're sharing the set with. So audiences will see a modified version of the the sets for these shows. But what we hope to do is have a very specific experience for everybody who comes, so they don't just feel like they're seeing the same show three times, with the same set and the same, everybody's bringing something different, even if we're using kind of the same structure. We're trying to make it different for everyone. So, and we have, our wonderful founder, Paul Larson, and his wife, Karen, who've been so great in, they even postponed their trip that they had planned so they could finish up our set for us. And, that's what community theater is all about, everybody chipping in and.
Yeah. And then on that note, would you mind mentioning the costumes, and namely the costume designer for the show?
Well, we don't really have a costume designer because this is set in the future, not in the future, but this is more of a
Present day.
yeah. It's not a period
A modern.
thing. We're actually keeping it kind of vague.
Okay.
As far as the time.
Timeless.
Yeah. So we're just kind of doing it ourselves and figuring out what works for our characters. And one thing is we really don't have a whole lot of changes. They're kind of living through the show. So you'll see that even when the scenes change, they're still on stage moving around in their characters, so it's not like the set changes and you see a crew come out and change things. They're all kind of just living on the stage
We are stuck
whole
in
time.
this house.
Exactly. They can get in, but they can't get out.
And then this is the first show of the Throw on the Edge
It is.
festival.
Yeah,
Yes.
we kick it off.
Yes. Would you mind telling me the dates so people know when to come down and see it?
The dates are May 9th, 11th, and 17th. Those are our evening shows at 8 o'clock. And then we have two matinees, one on a Saturday and one on a Sunday. So May 19th and 25th are our 2:30 p.m. matinees. And of course, we are alternating with two other shows, Dial for Murder and The 39 Steps. And we encourage our people to come and see all three, and as well get a festival pass because as I explained in the last time I had the pleasure of joining Colin, we are offering a festival pass, and we're going to offer people the chance to win a 2025 season ticket from CCT. Just by purchasing a festival pass, you will be eligible to win that, or also a festival pass for next year's Three on the Edge. So we're really trying to get people in to this. Doing a Hitchcock festival was one thing. I can tell you that we've had so many people just like, oh, I can't wait for the Hitchcock thing. Even the newspaper, which sometimes it's hard to get coverage in the newspaper, but they were like, oh, a Hitchcock festival. Even people who aren't regular theater goers, they hear the name Hitchcock and they think, oh, okay. Yeah. We had people come in just for Spamalot just because they're Monty Python fans, and they came from kind of far places just to see our Spamalot production.
That's really cool.
So there are certain names that have a kind of a brand that really means something to people, and Hitchcock is one of them. So I'm really hoping that this year's Three on the Edge, because all three shows are very different, as I'm sure you'll find out with, when you do the episodes with the others. But Dial for Murder is much more of a classic, mystery, and then the 39 Steps is just silly spoofery. So that's, and then ours is definitely not. Ours is the much more serious. But
And the collection of talent in these
Across
three.
the board,
yeah.
Very lucky to be a part
Amazing.
of all of this, for sure.
Well, be sure to check out the birds at the 7th Street 3 on the Edge Hitchcock Festival. Thank you all 4 of you for joining me today. It was a blast.
Oh, thank
Thank
you
you
so
so
much.
much.
Thank you so much, Colin.
Thanks for listening to Steps to the Stage, and now it's time for the curtain call. You can follow us on Spotify, Apple, Google, or any podcasting platform. We have videos up on YouTube, and you can visit our website at stepstothestage.buzzsprout.com. And as always, a special thank you to our audio engineer, Joey Rice, and our producer, Kirk Lane. Without the two of you, this show would not be possible.